Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Peak Cuban. Once again, we're back. I know it's inconsistent lately, but there's so much going on with the Food Lies Project and everything else I'm doing at nosetotale.org. So please go back and watch the old episodes. There's so many good ones. Start back at episode 1 or work your way backwards. The Food Lies series now has funding. We got the money in the bank. We're ready to go. We have our 2 new editors hired. We are full guns blazing. Very exciting news. Still a long way to go, but it's going to be so good. So good. Today's episode with Dr. Randy and Dr. Rob, great guys out of Houston. They're doing some really cool things and changing people's life with, of course, diet and nutrition. They have a really interesting protocol that does wonders for people. They have thousands and thousands of people that have done this now and had huge success, healed their metabolism. You want to be metabolically flexible. You want to be able to burn fat. You want to be able to burn carbs. You want to be able to eat real food and not worry about much else. And that's their whole thing, is just eat real food. And they help people heal their metabolism first so that they can do that. So check out this episode. It's a great one, I'm telling you. Super fun guys, very fit, very healthy themselves. And they also are allowing people into their program for free. They have the challenge that's free. They're great guys, super fit, super healthy, and they're allowing everyone into their free challenge. Just go to h2thinchallenge.com/sapien. Make sure you put in the /sapien and get into the challenge for free. And if you decide to join the program, they have $700 off with Peak Human 700. Huge discount. So join the challenge, see what it's all about. If you like it, you can get a huge discount on the program, Peak Human 700, for that big discount. Hope you enjoy this episode. A lot of great insights, and thanks for listening. All right, we're live with the Happy Healthy guys. What's up, Dr. Rob, Dr. Randy?
What's up, Brian? Thanks
What's
for having
up?
us on.
No doubt, man. What a huge treat, man. I've been listening to you for so long, and this is a dream come true to get a chance to connect. So this is going to be awesome.
Amazing. Well, yeah, it's been a long time coming. We've been talking for a while. I ran into Dr. Rob at the Bobby Kennedy event down at Aubrey Marcus's ranch.
Yep.
And yeah, we're going to get you guys down to Sapien Center soon enough. You guys are in Dallas.
Yeah, correct. And Grapevine, actually, on the west side of Dallas.
All right. Shout out. Dallas, represent.
So Texas in the house.
Hook 'em, baby.
Let's do it. So just to make sure people can tell you guys apart, just say who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Rob.
And I'm Randy. And we are the Happy Healthy guys.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
we've actually been best friends now for about 22 years. And so both of us retired chiropractors, was in practice, which is how I met Dr. Randy when he was in school. So he came into the office to come visit, and then just started asking a lot of questions, and we became
a pest. If you've ever had that mentor that you just ask him a billion questions and won't leave him alone, I'm that guy. Yeah. So I was going to his office, calling this guy every day because he had been in practice, for 3 or 4 years before I graduated. Mm-hmm. And a buddy of mine would going over and interning at his clinic and tell me about his practice. So I went over there to go see his practice, and I was like, wow, this is insane. All these families and kids, and just teaching people just real principles that I believe are the most valuable principles you can learn, because they teach you really what health is all about. This guy was at the forefront of that. So yeah, that's kind of how it started, with just pestering the hell out of you and learning as much as I could from you.
Awesome. So I'm going to tease the story. We're going to save your guys' personal story. You both have great healing journeys that we can get to at the end. But what was your journey? It sounds like you didn't get indoctrinated into being an allopathic doctor. You guys did the chiropractic route, which did you ever go down the allopathic route, or did you immediately try to go straight into the healing, root cause type stuff?
For myself, I was all about the medical model coming into it. Had suffered with severe migraine headaches for years and years and years, taking all kinds of medication for that. I really, more than anything, was wanting to try to figure out how to be able to help myself. And so I ended up went to undergraduate school at Texas Tech here in Texas. and then went to medical school at the UT Health Science Center down in San Antonio, Texas. So I was there for probably about 8 months or so, but things really weren't resonating with me. I think innately, I've always had a desire to find out what's causing the problem versus how to treat the symptom. So even in school, when I would raise my hand and ask questions, it always went to here's how we get to the symptom and never ever getting to the cause. And so around that time, I had one of my lab partners that was talking to me about going to see a chiropractor. And his name is Jimmy Fila. Remember, to this day, he's like, yeah, I've been going to this chiropractor. I think maybe he could help you with these migraine headaches that you're asking questions about. And so I went to see this chiropractor. It happened to be my stepmother's chiropractor, who she was always talking about my dad and her going to see this chiropractor. I didn't even know what they did really, but I went in hopeful that he was going to help me with these migraine headaches that I'd suffered with my entire life. And so he did an exam, explained to me how the nervous system works, how the brain controls everything in the body. Things were making sense. And he's like, if I just shift the alignment of these bones right here, get it off the nerves in order for your nerves to be able to get to where they need to go, it could help you. And he started adjusting me. Within about 2 weeks, my migraine headaches were completely gone. And these, Brian, were migraine headaches that I'd been suffering with since I was a little kid. I could remember literally climbing up onto my mom's toilet in her bathroom to get into the medicine cabinet, which was full of medications that we had taken our entire lives. It was where the towels are supposed to go, but that's how many medications were in there. And so for the first time, I didn't have these migraine headaches. And I was like, wow, he was able to do something in only a few weeks with me that medicine couldn't help me with. So that really is what created the shift in me. And I started really learning about how the body works, how the body functions, what the cause of things are. So I finished that year medical school and I never went back. I applied to chiropractic school, ended up going to chiropractic school here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and I've been here in Dallas, Fort Worth ever since.
All right, amazing. Yeah, what about you, Randy?
Yeah, so you asked a good question. Were you guys always kind of, not really looking to play a role in the allopathic model that, the mechanistic reductionist model that we kind of all grew up in? But my story is probably more familiar with all of us. I really was born into a medicine cabinet. I was born in a hospital and, I never got to run a fever. I was always on antibiotics, living on Dimetap and cough syrup. So my whole life I grew up, and every problem that I had, there was some type of drug that I was going to take. And not throwing my parents under the bus, got great parents and they were awesome, but they just had no idea about really what health was. They were just doing what everybody else has been told. And so you can imagine how most people grow up. You never, ever really get a chance to trust that your body really is the greatest doctor in the world and that you really need something from the outside, that every condition, every problem needs a chemical cure. So that was my upbringing, but it never really resonated with me. And I remember even being as a young kid, my great grandmother lived to be 100 years old. And pretty cool, right? I remember I was probably like 4 or 5 when she died. But I remember thinking like, this is super cool because great granny she raised hogs and she had a farm, she had a garden, she milked cows and churned butter and really all the things that quote our ancestors were doing. She wasn't on medication. I think she dipped snuff every day too. I could be wrong, but she had this life and she died at home at 100 years old. And I remember as a kid thinking, I really want to figure out how Granny did this. I want to be the guy that lives that long time. But as I'm growing up, I really wasn't seeing how that was going to be possible. I remember even growing up in the church and looking at like the church prayer list as a young kid and seeing all these people on there that we were praying for, which, is a great thing. But I remember as a kid thinking, man, I really wish brother so-and-so would not wake up tomorrow and drink Mountain Dew and eat donuts and sit on the couch. Like, really, this isn't probably God's fault. We're probably doing things that are getting in the way because I've always really had in my heart, I believe that really God made us in perfection, that our body's designed to heal. Health is the normal. So those dots started connecting for me. And then I was in a class in college. It was an advanced sociology course. And I did a paper on alternative medicine, which is always comical to me because what's the alternative to to eating real food, not poisoning your body and reaching your potential. But anyway, as you can imagine, chiropractic care fell under the umbrella of alternative medicine. And I started reading the principles that really govern and founded chiropractic. And Brian, I got to say, man, it just blew me away when I started thinking about the nervous system, neurological integrity, how we really live our life through our nervous system, and that really the body, it's really all about creating the right environment where good things can happen. We don't need more treatments, we need less interference. So that kind of started the journey for me. And then I enrolled at Parker here in Dallas, and still not really sure about chiropractic, if I was making the right decision. And I remember getting strep throat my first month there on campus. And I always got strep throat as a kid. I don't know if did you ever have strep throat, Brian, or was
Probably.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
probably. I mean, I got it. Did you ever get it?
Never had it.
Always got it 2 and 3 times a year. And then, of course, you go to the doctor like a good little boy. And of course, they're going to write you a prescription for antibiotics. You take the antibiotics, and of course, you overcome it and you move on. Then it comes back. So I got the strep throat, and I remember having somebody knock on my door. And it was an upper level chiropractic student, and he's like, "Hey, man, just want to see how you're doing." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing good. I've got antibiotics." He's like, "No, we're not doing that." He took my antibiotics, he threw them in the trash, and he goes, "Quit poisoning yourself." He goes, "If you won't take these drugs, I'll get you adjusted a couple times a day the next few days. I want you to rest. And if your body doesn't heal, I'll renounce my chiropractic license I'm about to get in the next few months." I was like, "All right, man." So he threw them away. And of course, 2 and 3 days later, strep throat completely gone. I actually let my body heal. And that was the last medication that I ever took. No over the counter, no Tylenol, no Advil. That was 1990.
Whoa, that
Yeah,
is
so
amazing.
it's insane. And for the first time ever, I'm like, holy smokes. Really, the body does heal. And I wasn't deficient in drugs. Clearly, I wasn't deficient in antibiotics. There's not one disease, one cause being a deficiency of drugs, and then one cure, which is oral therapy or drugs for the rest of your life. Something else was going on. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew I was never, ever going to go down the road of thinking that I needed to give myself medication. I really wanted to start trusting my body. And obviously, that thing in me really began to develop and grow. And then I meet a guy like Dr. Rob, and he starts mentoring me. And I had great mentors all throughout my chiropractic career. And wow, I've never been more in love with the principle. It's really the most important thing I've ever learned, Brian, is to really trust the body and know that the greatest doctor in the world, it really is on the inside of us. And that doctor doesn't need help and needs no interference.
I love it. That is what this podcast is all about. That's been my journey. Peak Human is about really going against the modern sick care system, modern processed foods, and just aligning to nature, aligning to your body as a Homo sapien. Really, my other right behind my shoulder is sapien, right? That's just the principle of letting your body heal itself. All that your body knows. Yeah, we are set up to heal ourselves. Just give it the best inputs and get out of the way. And yeah, so this is not, I had you guys on, like, not to talk about the chiropractic stuff necessarily, but the food stuff. So I'm glad. Yeah, I want to switch gears. No, I love these backstories. And it's amazing that you didn't have to go through the regular allopathic medicine stuff. And you guys kind of found your own way pretty quickly, faster than some. I know some doctors, they took them 20 years to get out of it. But let's move to the nutrition side of things, because I know you guys are really into that. And that's kind of my topic that I usually stick to. So tell me about how you've found the diet to heal people and the metabolism, right? That's the big important thing.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those things where it found us more than it was about us finding it, because even as chiropractors and holistic doctors, we were still doing things like
Oh my gosh.
holistically.
Yeah.
It's like we were eating like organic food or doing paleo or keto or whatever at those times. However, I know for us, we were still in a position where, for myself, I had literally struggled with my weight my entire life. like had starved myself, was anorexic as a kid, and as a result, I always struggled with trying to maintain a healthy weight. I had to be perfect with my exercise, perfect with my diet just to maintain a healthy weight. I know people, even when we're in practice, probably from the outside looking in, would say, "Wow, he's really healthy." What they didn't know is how much I was struggling with that. So we knew there had to be a different way, another way to be able to help people. We just didn't know what it was. And so that's where Randy comes into to this story. Thank goodness, because that really helped us to be able to figure out a metabolic solution for people like myself.
Yeah, we'll go there in a little bit, I know, but I think the answer to the question is, Brian, doing everything wrong and screwing up your health before you figure it out, man. I remember my best friend in high school, Brent Gentry. He was a year younger than me, and we decided who could get in the best shape to go to the beach that summer. And he was my basketball bro. We played everything together, lifted weights together, but we had never crossed our mind about eating better. I mean, you grew up in the standard American home. You're drinking soda and eating fast food. I remember I had a Fry Daddy. Do you know what that is, Brian?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's the little black kettle, and you put the Crisco grease in it, and you could plug it in and heat it up. And I would throw in the curly fries and the chicken nuggets every day when I got home from school. I would crush up the bag of Ruffles and cover it in hot sauce. You're eating fast food. I mean, I ate as bad as anybody could possibly eat. It's a miracle I wasn't the obese kid. I don't know, just so active and always playing sports. But we decided to get in the best shape of our life. And so my plan, and this was kind of the hot thing back in the early 90s, if you remember, was to cut out all of your fat. So
Mm.
as long as you didn't eat fat, you'd be fine. So I'm eating no fat Twinkies. I'm drinking milkshakes with, skim milk, extra pumps of syrup, non-fat ice cream. I'm doing all the no fat stuff. And that was my first entry into making health changes. Those weren't good changes, but I did make change. I stopped eating fast food at least. And I was making a few changes, trying to eat more vegetables, but I just didn't know what I didn't know, right? But a lot of times just starting that journey will lead you where you want to go. And I've had different diets I've done and programs and things that ultimately, were getting me some results. But really what I ended up doing is I had to lose my health to ultimately get me to where I wanted to go. And we can go down that road whenever you want to. But yeah, the health thing, as you start learning more about health, and this was all before I got into chiropractic school, clearly. But as you start going down that road, you start looking at health differently. You start seeing that, hey, listen, man, if you're putting crap into your body, there's just no way possible you're ever going to be, really ever going to reach your potential. So some people, are skinny, but they're not healthy. Skinny people die of heart attacks. Skinny people get cancer. Trust me, I know.
Well, yeah, the India and China, they have huge diabetes. It's the most diabetes in the world. Well,
Yeah.
also they have the most people, but they're also one of the thinnest 2 countries in the world. And yeah, it's all about visceral fat right there, right? You can be skinny and have a lot of visceral fat, and then that would come in from the processed foods and seed oils and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, well, yeah, no, this is great. So you found kind of how to do things, but it sounds like you refined it along the way where, yeah, you paleo, keto, which are great and they're part of the sapien framework. But when did you find sort of the next level of health and working with patients too? I want to say you guys work with thousands and thousands of people. So just one more quick thing, I've had over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been looking more into this model of health of some people call it pro-metabolic, some people call it bioenergetic, right? There's different names. It really is just all the same sapient principles of avoiding processed foods, embracing saturated fat, avoiding seed oils, real foods, nose to tail, organs, right? All the good things, but maybe leaning more into whole food carbs, like that carbs aren't the enemy, right? So there's two kind of paradigms. There's like the keto paradigm that's like, let's lean into fat. And then there's kind of this more pro-metabolic paradigm that let's lead into carbs, but they're both the same because they both have the same foundational principles. So now I've been doing it myself for many years now, and I am in perfectly shape. I feel even better, and I've had a lot of improvements by eating more carbs, which before I didn't understand that. So tell us how you guys came to that.
It's interesting you said that, because as I'm listening to you talk about that, even as chiropractors, you were asking what we were doing even for our patients from the background that I had come from still. And I think this is where a lot of people come from. It's the calories in, calories out model. So that's what I had grown up with. For me to be able to maintain quote health and or be at a healthy weight was just reduce the calories. So even coming into that, as we were teaching our patients and educating our patients, and it was, we had Atkins before then, as far as, eating more fats, eating more proteins, but it still really came down to just reducing calories. So regardless if we were having them drink protein shakes that were organic or eating more organic, healthy food, the principle still remained the same back then, that it was calories in, calories out, which is why I now know that that's why I was struggling. And then to your point, now understanding how to eat better, how to eat more ancestrally speaking. Yeah, I can now eat carbs and I don't have to worry about gaining the weight. But really there, we had to come to that realization from a scientific standpoint that all calories are not created equal. It's not calories in, calories out. And I think when we even teach people and educate people, that's where they always want to go back to, is that, because that's their definition of what a diet is calorie restriction.
No, it's been baked into our psyche from day one, right? It's the whole law of thermodynamics, which is that is a real law, but it doesn't take into account multiple other factors that are involved. I'd rather eat 10,000 calories of real food than be on a 1,500 calorie fake food diet. Your body, why does one person eat the same amount of calories and not gain weight, and the other person eats the same calories and they gain weight? What does your body do with the food when you eat it? Does it burn it or does it store it? So when we started looking at nutrition and health, and I was the classic low carb guy too. That's kind of where I ultimately settled for probably a decade, was just not really eating any carbohydrates. They were the devil. Insulin causes you to gain body fat. So it was just this high protein. And I was eating, like, Brian, no joke, man, probably 6 to 7 times a day of just 30 to 40 grams of protein, no carbohydrate, tons of fat. And although, I could get very, very lean.
Were you doing the shakes too?
Yeah, you have to get that much protein in that many meals. You're doing all the protein bars, the protein shakes, which, by the way, they're not real food. You set them on the counter and come back in a year, and they look the same. It's kind of like finding that protein bar in your winter jacket when you were up in Colorado in the mountains, and it's been there for like 3 years, and you tear it open, and it's just as fresh as it was, 3 years ago, right?
It's no good. It's no good. So okay, so
Yeah.
keep going. So yeah, you're doing all the protein, but yeah, you were doing well, pretty well, right?
Yeah, I'm working out, twice a day, and physically my body's lean, it's strong. I'm like about 6 feet tall. I was 185 pounds, very, very lean. But I begin to notice a lot of changes with me, especially with my ability to sleep. I didn't sleep well, had a lot of joint issues. I just didn't feel very well. Although I looked good on the outside, I wasn't feeling my best. And ultimately, I didn't know really what to do with that, other than, hey, they're saying do this, so just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, until finally my body just broke down and I had to make some changes. I think a lot of times people aren't really ready to make a change or don't know how to make the change until really the crap, so to say, hits the fan. And for me, that was my breaking moment, when really I lost my health and I was no longer able to just get away with a low carb diet or some chiropractic care, or waking up in the morning and meditating. There were some limitations of matter that were breaking down for me. And I think the diet part of it for me, I really hadn't figured it out yet. I hadn't figured out what was working best. And so I think that was a huge piece for me why I was struggling.
That makes sense. And yeah, I think it's always a journey, right? We're talking about your whole journey, right? It's you had to go through all these stages of your life, learn things, talk to each other, be the pest to the other guy. I was the pest to my buddy, Dr. Gary, who changed his whole practice because I pestered him. And I was just the random dude, coming from the side with a podcast with an engineering degree. But he listened to me. But yeah, no, it's all a journey. And so I'm not saying that low carb is bad. It might just be part of someone's journey. So, right? So then how did you kinda go to the next
Yeah. So my whole world had to fall apart, to be quite honest. So for me, my story, but I literally was diagnosed with late stage cancer in July of 2010. So shocking. I couldn't
Mhm.
believe it. I was in complete denial. I was, you know, heck, at that point, I was what, 35 years old, 8 years into practice, you know, thinking everybody, was looking at me as, the virtue of health. And I was so embarrassed because I couldn't imagine how in the world I could have gotten cancer because I was and you know me very well, Dr. Rob. I was very meticulous with everything that I did. But if you're doing some things that are wrong and breaking certain laws of health, it's kind of like gravity. Gravity really doesn't care if you believe in it or not. There's things that govern the universe. There's, laws of physics and aerodynamics and gravity. If you jump off a building and say you don't believe in gravity, you're going to learn about physics and hard matter, right? There's just certain laws you can't violate. So although I was breaking some laws of health, it wasn't intentional and it wasn't for a lack of effort. But some of the mistakes I was making, I call it my life BC and AC, before cancer and after cancer.
Mhm.
So before cancer, definitely eating 6, 7 times a day, zero carbohydrate, tons of seed oil, Brian. I was crushing flax, fish oil, taking tons of fish oil, everything, expeller press, safflower oils. I was really using a lot of these oils in my diet, a lot of protein powders, a lot of protein bars and shakes, a lot of fake food. I was doing those things to try to maintain a certain weight to be 185 pounds, forcing myself to be big. Yet those were all mistakes that were huge for me. So when I got sick, the after cancer was, all right, this clearly isn't working. So I started looking at things a lot differently. So my journey actually led me into Spain, of all places. I don't know if you know that, but
Mm.
the diagnosis they gave me, they're giving me 2 months to 2 years, metastatic melanoma spread to my lymphatics, my liver, my stomach. They're like, get your affairs in order. And I just wasn't really interested in participating in their protocols because it was going to be chemotherapy, radiation, hospice care, drug trial. And not to say that people haven't gotten sick and gone down that road and gotten well, just but with what I knew chiropractically, what I believed about my health, that wasn't an option for me. So I'd heard about a doctor in Spain and I ended up going over into Spain. And as I'm observing people in Spain, they weren't waking up first thing in the morning and eating a bowl of cereal or eating a bowl of oatmeal, which was my staple every morning. You
Mhm.
wake up, you're starving, and you eat the oatmeal, the egg whites, the natural peanut butter,
Mhm.
the organic raisins, you stir it all up, you have your grapefruit, and you eat that food. And then by 10 o'clock, you're already eating again. In Spain, they weren't waking up and eating. I was like, whoa, this is interesting. They're kind of eating a little bit later in the day. And then they were eating kind of a second time later that evening. So they were eating really more a couple of times per day. And I'm not saying you can't eat more than twice a day and be healthy, but I'm thinking if I'm eating 6 and 7 times a day and my body's breaking down, maybe there's something to this. So I was observing this. And so I started changing that immediately, where I stopped eating and snacking all day long. And I started eating later in the day when I was really hungrier, eating till I was full, and then eating again later in the day when I was hungry again, which kind of fell around 2 times per day.
I like it. Awesome, and then yeah, no, that's what I did too. Yeah, I definitely settled in at 2 times per day, and now, yeah, I don't think it's required to eat 2 times a day,
No,
but, it's but, now I'm trying to eat more breakfast if I'm hungry or, be I don't it's kind of this idea of letting your metabolism, well, work well and dictate and you want a high metabolism, and we used to eat a lot more calories, right?
no question.
Back in the
Yeah, what,
day.
like 4,500 calories back, 100 years ago. And obesity was what, like 3%, maybe?
If you're eating the real foods, yes, your body can burn all those calories, and you want a good amount of calories, and even the body temperature plays in. I actually learned about this stuff a couple years ago and started looking at my body temperature, and I was doing low carb for too long, and I had a low body temperature, and I started eating more carbs, right? It's like paradoxical because I thought it was gonna make me fat. I never got fat. I raised my body temperature, right? So my
Yes,
body temperature
exactly.
went up, right? You want it to be up at 90.8, 98.6. And I think most people, it's not. I think
Right.
this is a sign of just a low metabolism, low thyroid function, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you cut your carbs out forever, I mean, obviously you're putting yourself in a stressful state. Your body does need glucose. And if you're eating no carbs, your body's pretty smart. It can do, gluconeogenesis and make its own glucose, but that really probably isn't the best strategy where your body has to break down muscle and amino acids to constantly make glucose because you're going to raise cortisol. And obviously, elevated cortisol is not a great clinical outcome for aging, overall health, and definitely, like you said, interrupting endocrine function, thyroid. So you almost put yourself into like this, this pathological or physiological insulin resistance where your body's hanging on to the amount of glucose it possibly can, making sure that your muscle and your liver can't take any up because you don't have any to spare. So short-term intervention probably can play a role, right? And help people. It helped me. It's probably helped you. I know it's helped you for
Absolutely.
sure jumping on a keto diet in the past. But long term, is that really the best long term solution to keep your body in a high level of stress? I don't think that it is.
Yeah. No, this is where I'm at. I'm not afraid to be wrong. My whole goal in life is to keep evolving and keep learning and not just buckle down and think that I know everything. And that's why I've said camp no camp a lot lately in the last few years is that it's okay. And again, I'm not saying that low carb is bad. I think there's a time and place for anything, for many things. Like what these a lot of these diets, quote diets, are interventions. They're kind of a good intervention for different people at different times in their life. And ancestrally, it makes sense because we would have to do different things at different times of the year. And sometimes of the year, we only had meat. Okay, maybe we're carnivore. I'm not mad at carnivore. I'm happy for people to go carnivore and fix themselves. But let's like evolve from there and not do that for 20 years. Because that's not that doesn't make sense ancestrally. Or even what if we didn't have any animals? What if something happened, it's crazy climactic conditions, and we had no animals for a month and we had to be vegan? Well, our bodies are amazing and we've adapted to survive, right? I'm not saying you should go vegan, but I get why if someone goes vegan, they'll feel better because they got rid of a whole bunch of processed foods. They're eating less, they're just feeding their body more real foods, probably less foods really, because it's just a bunch of just lower quality, non-bioavailable proteins and
Bunch of
less
fiber.
yeah. So you're actually just not getting as much
Yeah.
energy, right, to your body, so you can lose weight that way. But yeah, these are just interventions of keto. All these things, these are great modalities. These are healing modalities. We can use them when appropriate. But my biggest interest is what is something that I want to do for life and that is appropriate for humans to do for life. And it's actually not even the same. It should be a bit seasonal too, right? It should be, we could eat differently in the summer. What foods are available? Let's eat local foods around us. And in the winter, maybe we are more protein heavy, more animal based during the winter. That's fine. So yeah, Rob, have you found kind of this similar journey?
Yeah, I have, and it took, like you said, it's definitely an evolution, and it took what Randy was going through on his journey to be able to heal me. So it's interesting as we're talking, and it's like I got to I had the privilege of being able to mentor Dr. Randy, but then it was like then he got to mentor me with what it is that he was going through, and I remember vividly we were going to be speaking at an event in Orlando, Florida for a couple thousand doctors and their teams. And we were going to be speaking about health and what to do and how to be able to get their patients more into a holistic health model. And we were up in the hotel room talking about what we were going to be speaking about. And that's when he dropped the bomb on me that he had been diagnosed with cancer. And I had no idea. We're best friends, no idea that it had gotten to that point. Brian,
Yeah.
he was gray, like a grayish blue color, literally liver sticking out and couldn't hold down any food. He's like, I don't know how we're going to be able to speak. I can't hold down any food and I'm really weak with what's going on. So we kind of gathered our thoughts. We were getting ready to speak in about 20 minutes. We go downstairs into the hotel lobby. And what made me remember this is you talking about this being a journey. It is a journey. Literally for us, it was a journey. So we sit down and there was a piano player in the hotel lobby bar. and the piano player starts playing Don't Stop Believing by Journey.
Mhm.
And
True story.
and we're like,
yeah,
that's the answer.
yeah, it is.
Don't stop.
1981, baby.
Yep, the classic. We literally just saw them
Yeah, just saw
last
that.
week
We
here in
did.
Dallas Fort Worth.
We did.
And so the answer was don't stop believing that your body has an innate intelligence already inside it that knows exactly what to do and when to do that. And so, as we're talking about just ancestrally doing things, it's really about this body's innate wisdom. So, that really is what I learned going through this is that yes, there are things that your body needs seasonally. There's things that my body needs that his body doesn't need, and vice versa. And so, because of that, I had to really learn what it is that my body was needing to be able to get me metabolically healthy
Mhm.
and just really stop listening to what mainstream was telling us to do. Because mainstream would be saying, hey, do keto, or mainstream is saying, do paleo at that time, or it's saying only, no carbs. And like you said, it may be good for some people and not good for other people. So it really is listening to what your body is needing for the healing versus listening to what everybody else is telling you to do. So that was really the lesson there was really just to be able to get, inside myself to be able to understand what that is and then start applying the scientific principles that we were learning when Randy was in Spain because the doctor that was treating him at that time, he had this down. He understood how the body works and we really started becoming students then of this doctor. And then by being students of this doctor, listening to our own body's wisdom, I was able then to start applying those principles as well. So for me, it was I had been doing no carb, but I had not only been doing no carb, it was the eating 6 to 10 times a day. That wasn't working for me. That's not what my body needed. So, like he was saying, just looking at the way people were doing things, going, you know what? What if I only ate 2 times a day and I didn't snack? So it was like a lot of trial and error through that. And what he didn't say is that during that time when we were in Spain, I had injured my back only a few months before he had been diagnosed with cancer. So I literally couldn't walk. And so I'm like dragging around a leg while we're in Spain.
I'm almost dead.
He's almost dead.
We
were
weren't the happy, healthy guys.
no, we were the sick, depressed, overweight, and almost dead guys
Yeah.
at that time. We
Yeah.
probably wouldn't want to listen to that podcast.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah. Had to hit rock bottom for sure.
Yeah. So that's what it took to be able to start really just relearning things from the eyes of this innate body, the body's innate wisdom to be able to heal. And as a result of now applying these scientific principles that we were learning, then I had gained 65 pounds in only a few months. I was 210 pounds, which is a lot for my frame. And so as a result of applying that, and I couldn't walk. And so I ended up losing the 65 pounds, that was 14 years ago, haven't gained it back. And now I'm eating carbs. I can eat breakfast if I want to, and I'm not worrying about gaining any weight like I used to be, which is a lot better way to live because I'm now metabolically healthy. It's all about the metabolism, and I'm healthier now. I turned 53 years old on Sunday. I'm healthier now at 53 than I was when I was 18 years old, and so that's that's the real flex right there. Is the next 50? What's the next 50 gonna look like, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what that's what we're all about is making sure that people are living that next 50 years of their life better than the first.
Amazing. And if you guys aren't watching, these guys look great. You guys are glowing. How old are you, Randy?
I just turned 50 this last summer. So got here quick, fast, and in a hurry. But man, dude, 50's not too bad. You'll get there one day, Brian.
Well, no, you guys look fantastic. Like I'm telling you guys, they look great. Just thriving humans. This is what humans should look like. And we settle for what's around us, right? You think 50 and you think of these people with the big pot belly and they're kind of hunched over, they can't play any sports. That's not normal. These guys are normal. Rob and Randy are what humans should look like. And I know it might be obvious to people, and my listeners are pretty in the know already, but Maybe just
Yeah.
tell people like what are your principles now? Like, what do you guys avoid? What are like you mentioned Cetos, obvious, right? So what are the things you avoid and what are the things you guys eat?
No, great question. So yeah, there's a lot. Really, step one is stop doing all the things that are making you sick, right? From Hippocrates, I believe, said that. Are you willing to stop doing the things that are making you sick? And if you're not willing to do that, which I know your audience really is, but one of the things for sure, I had to stop eating any and all seed oil. I stopped snacking and eating multiple times per day. Dr. Rob and I have an acronym called SURF, SERF, not SURF. Brian, I think you surf. You're aren't you a surfer?
Oh, I mean, I'm from Hawaii. I don't think I'm as good as I should be, but yeah.
Okay. So don't worry if you're not a great SURFer. I know you're a great SERFer. Simply eat real food. This has been paramount and it's been the foundation to our transformations. A huge part of me overcoming late stage cancer, him losing 65 pounds. I just don't eat fake food anymore. So the way we define it is if you set food on the counter, walk away for 2 weeks and come back. If it looks the same, Brian, it's not real food, right? Real food will break down, it will deteriorate, it will go bad. So, really making sure that the foundation of your nutritional strategy is based on real food. So, what is real food? Well, proteins and vegetables and fruits, real living food. Obviously, eating healthy animal fats, staying away from linoleic acid and PUFA and all those highly industrialized cetos. I think the research is in. We know those things really do disrupt the metabolic profile and make people sick. They're estrogenic. They make you hungry. They, make your fat cells grow. They literally destroy your metabolic rate. So avoiding all those things are huge. Eating real food, eating really when you're hungry. Why would you eat if you're not hungry? So if I'm not hungry, I don't eat. And if I am hungry, which is great, if I wake up hungry, then I'm going to have breakfast.
Hmm.
Normally, I don't wake up hungry. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Get some sun in my eyes, get my feet on the ground, be thankful, have that morning time to meditate and be thankful and see your life and see the vision for your life. Those things are real big pieces to the things that I do. Obviously, we're in a world now where we're insulted with all these chemicals. I think there's 10,000 chemicals they've approved to put in our food supply, which you really can avoid when you eat real food. Over 80,000 chemicals in our environment that can make us all sick. Now we're being blasted, obviously, with EMF and destroying our mitochondria from voltage standpoint. So really being a conscious aware of Wi-Fi, fake food, chemicals. I don't take medication any longer. I told you 1999, the last drug I ever took. I'm drug free, bro. 25 years. That is huge. That is so we underestimate how amazing our body is, right?
That's so amazing. I was just thinking of Dr. Peter, another chiropractor here in Austin. His kids, he has 3 kids. They have not had one medication their whole life from birth until now. It's amazing. I've never heard of this. They haven't got any of the shots. They haven't got any of the aspirin,
Yeah.
nothing.
Listen to Dr. Rob's story. Yeah.
So I have 3 kids, 15, 16, and 20. All 3 of them born at home, completely naturally. Except the oldest was born in a hospital. However, it was done completely natural. I know the doctor that was there. His mom was 30 days ahead of schedule on her. He came along 30 days ahead of schedule, so they wouldn't do it at home. However, we did everything natural there in the hospital, and I stood guard to be able to make sure that nobody put any kind of medication in him, on him, or anywhere around him. I literally had to leave the hospital against medical advice. They sent Child Protective Services to my house 2 weeks later to be able to make sure that he was okay because I took him out of that model, didn't allow them to touch him. He's 20 years old. He's healthy as ever. But yeah, all 3 kids, never been to a medical doctor, no medical interventions,
No vaccines, right?
no
Yeah.
vaccines, no jabs. The other 2 were born at home. And it's really cool to be able to just see them because they don't know life any differently. That's for them, that is the norm. They'll never ever have a medicine cabinet in their house. And yeah, they're great, healthy as ever.
I love that there's gonna be a new experiment. There's a new wave of people that are gonna be healthy, and I've seen these people. This is the sapien community. These are the people that don't need medications, they don't get sick, and if they get a little bit sick, they can heal very quickly, right? I really almost count myself as not being sick in 8 years. I mean, maybe a little bit, and what I eat oysters. If I feel like I'm getting a little something, I just eat some oysters. I get all this zinc, I'm getting this bioavailable nutrients, and my body bounces back. So yeah, this is gonna be great. This new wave of people that understand this. They're not afraid of animal foods. They're not afraid to eat fat, because there was another group of people like the hippies back in the day, but they went all the plant-based route,
Yep,
right? They were like a
they
different
did.
kind of experiment, and I've seen these people because now they're in their 60s and 70s, and they don't look good. They don't look good. These plant-based people, I've seen a lot of them. A lot of visceral fat, a lot of different medications, a lot of, you know, subcutaneous fat, both kinds of fat.
Yeah, that's
That's
sarcopenic obesity, right? You're a skinny fat person. It's not all the visceral fat is devastating. Yeah, so you just can't, and listen, plants are fine. I don't really eat a lot of plants. If I do, I prepare them correctly. That's one thing I made a big change with. I did go, I think in 2023, I didn't eat one vegetable. So I went the whole year not eating one. Just wanted to see how my body did.
Did you eat fruit still, or did you
Yeah, I
eat?
eat fruit,
Yeah.
but I didn't eat any oxalate based fruits.
Mhm.
Obviously, no vegetables. Lots of healthy fats. I eat raw dairy. I drink raw dairy, aged cheeses, but zero vegetables. And I had a huge oxalate dump, by the way. Didn't feel too great. I was having some issues because it obviously your body's going to start dumping that. But I brought those back in. I prepared them properly. If you're going to, obviously de-seeding and peeling and pressure cooking, soaking, fermenting, those are all things you can do to help bring about the most nutrient density to the foods, deactivate some of the anti-nutrients. So I've brought those back in. But it's great because I don't really worry about any of that. I just, if I'm hungry, I eat and I want to eat real food. I know that if I give my body real food, it knows what to do with it and I don't have to worry about the calories. I'm like, how many great nutrients can I get in my body right now? And I'm thankful that I get to do that. I never have to worry about my weight. I stay very lean. Now I'm about 165 pounds, about 20 pounds less, but I'm not dead, which is a great clinical outcome, by the way. So instead of eating all those times to stay big, right, now it's easy to maintain my weight.
Well, and yeah, and big, I hope people realize we're talking about muscle.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was always really muscular.
And I think it's just a little unnecessary. I mean, all guys wanna look good and, have some muscles, but there's only so much you need, and you can look great. I hear a lot of women say, "It looks better if you look more natural."
Hey, when you have a huge guy, the only people that are impressed with guys being massive are other guys.
Yeah, the guys are looking at you, not the women.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
funny.
true. Yeah.
So true.
So
And then Rob, so then, and your kind of food, maybe specifics.
Yeah, specifics. So eat a lot of it was a lot of meats.
yeah.
Definitely a lot of healthy fats. One of the things that I always make sure that I add into whatever it is that I'm eating is SCT oil, which is short chain triglyceride or short chain fatty acid to whatever it is that I'm eating, which is amazing because I'm never hungry as a result. So with those healthy fats, satisfying the satiety versus before when I was snacking all the time, eating a lot of nuts, eating a lot of healthier grains, and doing those things, it seemed like both I was always hungry, but I was always craving sweets. So for me,
Mm.
that was always my nemesis. It was like I always said I didn't have a sweet tooth. I have a sweet teeth, and I'd always want to have dessert. And so now that doesn't ever happen. So making sure that I'm getting good, healthy quality meats, the SCT oil, the good, healthy fats in there as well. Typically for me, I'm not hungry in the mornings. If I am hungry in the mornings, then I'll eat some eggs, good bacon in there, no nitrates, no chemicals on those things. But by and large, I'm just eating lunch and dinner. I I eat some fruits. If I do eat fruits, they're going to be berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. If I do eat fruits, but it's very rare even that I eat
No.
that I eat fruits. And so I'm getting most of my nutrients from meats and healthy fats. That's what works best
Yeah.
for me.
I eat a lot more fruit now, a lot of higher
Mm.
carb. I probably get at least 200 carbs a day, depending on the day. Maybe, I try to do maybe like a 24-hour fast, maybe once every 7 to 10 days. If I'm just feeling really good, I'm not hungry, I'll just go. And if it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm still not hungry, I'm like, cool, man, my body's satiated with nutrients. It doesn't require anything right now. And so I don't eat. But yeah, I'm way, way higher carb than I've ever been in my life. And my body really doesn't change. I think I feel way better eating more carbohydrates. I still don't really eat a lot of starches. I eat more fruit. Um, white rice cooked down nicely is okay. Maybe in some bone broth, or maybe a twice baked potato, peel the skin. But for me, it's more fruit, more dairy, more cheeses. Nothing's more refreshing than cracking open a cold watermelon on a hot day. And I can't just eat a little bit of it. I'm going to devour the whole thing for sure. So, and usually if I do that, I'll go for a walk after for maybe 20, 30 minutes, get a little more sunshine. But yeah, it's really freeing not worrying about what calories you're eating and focusing on real food nutrition and not fearing carbohydrates like they're the devil.
Which I used to.
Yeah, for sure, man. Dude, Brian, because you think about when you're back in that day, it's like, man, if you eat one piece of fruit or, have a potato, you're going to blow up and gain fat. It's just not true. If you have a healthy metabolism, and that's the key too, though. A lot of people do not have a healthy metabolic profile. So they're not fat adapted, they're not carb adapted, and they're literally starving themselves and they still gain weight, which is the ultimate level of frustration.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I went through. And we got to bring up metabolic flexibility. My guy Mark Sisson's been talking about this forever, and it's the truth though. It's like you said, fat adapted and carb adapted. So some people they go only fat adapted, right? When you go keto for so long, then you're only fat adapted. And then some people they're only carb adapted, but they're like adapted in the worst way, where they're not fat adapted at all, standard American, seed oils, processed foods. They can only handle carbs, right? They're only really burning carbs, right? They're having to eat every couple hours. If they don't eat, their blood sugar tanks,
Dude,
but
that was
then they can
me.
never burn fat. You need to do both. And that's this new paradigm that a lot of people are finding these days in the nutrition world. That's it's it's not a balanced diet. I hate the word balanced diet. It's a real food diet, and it's balanced in a different way. And it's what you guys are talking about. It's balanced towards animal protein, animal fat, fruits, whole foods, some well prepared vegetables, properly, pickled stuff. I eat fermented stuff, raw dairy, I love the rice and bone broth. That's actually what I make all the time now. And I'm not eating tons of it, right? It's not I grew up in Hawaii, you're just eating like buckets of rice, right? And it's just empty filler, right? And it could be problems, but if we're talking about a nice organic rice cooked in bone broth, you put in the fridge, get the resistant starch, warm it up again later, and I'm eating it in like a normal amount. That is not bad at all, right? That actually helps me sleep better since I started doing that, eating some fruit for dessert, some bit of rice, especially at night. I'm sleeping way better. When I was low carb for so long, I would wake up at the middle of the night and be up for an hour, just middle of night, wide awake. That's the cortisol. That's you're basically also your blood sugar. So if you're, I think, and I even got it. I got the CGM on now. I got the NutriSense
Yep.
one. Shout out
Okay.
NutriSense. Use Sapien. I got a code for you guys. Sapien.
Shameless
No,
plug.
but you can check your CGM, check your blood sugar, and I could see it. And I've worn a couple of these over the years. Again, NutriSense sent it to me like 3 years ago, and I was noticing that my blood sugar was tanking in the middle of the night, and that's when I'd be waking up. And so if your blood sugar is tanking, your body's kind of just running out of glucose, right? Your liver is just like bonking basically. And now
Totally.
you're wired. I'm wide awake for an hour and then I have to go back to sleep. And then I told myself the story, oh, this is how our ancestors did it. And there's this whole idea. Have you heard about biphasic sleep? It is a concept, right? Biphasic sleep. And maybe it did happen, right? That doesn't mean it's good.
You didn't wake up and go hunting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting a cortisol and adrenaline hit at 3 a.m. is not ideal.
It's not good. So I mean, yes, I learned about that. I eat some of these whole food carbs, and now I don't wake up, or if I do wake up, I'll just go back to sleep in 2 seconds. So
Totally.
yeah, there's a lot more to this than the mainstream says. Because if you just say eat real food, sometimes that gets co-opted into whole grains and plant-based and eat like a bunch of salads and like, yeah, the next thing you know, you're high oxalate, right? You're eating like a spinach salad every day.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
I mean, I had terrible problems with oxalates. I got to tell this story for like the 10th time, but just
Yeah, tell it.
7 years ago, I was doing kale, spinach, and almond milk every day, and I
Mm,
thought I was the healthiest guy alive eating
poor
that, and terrible oxalate problems, terrible skin issues, kidney issues. Yeah, the whole thing with the oxalate dumping, I'm still trying to deal with this to this day, trying to get over this. 3 years, I think I did it, of the kale, spinach, almond milk
Oh, every
shakes
morning?
every morning.
Oh,
Imagine that. I'm surprised I'm
oh,
alive.
right? How do you have kidneys left?
I have no idea. I'm still seriously trying. If it, I think still need some more help from doctors to like figure out how to get rid of the sort of kidney stones, right? People know that the calcium oxalate is most kidney stones, right? And this is from these high oxalate foods. And spinach and almonds are some of the highest oxalate foods you can get. So watch out for those. So again, the main point here is eating a quote balanced diet or eating real foods could mean very different things to different people and to us. And it's great. A lot of these people get it these days. Saladino, great, right? He's talking about the same thing. It's like, okay, it's meat, it's nose to tail, it's meat, it's fruit, it's some raw dairy. It's like this is a very different set of whole foods than the hippie, your grandma's whole foods, right? The hippie people's whole foods is like grains and everything's quinoa and grains and it's just seeds and nuts and it's just all of the most high anti-nutrient foods you can think of.
Brutal.
It's so true, and that's where so many people end up coming to us really frustrated because they've been doing exactly what it is that you're saying right now, and they're like, you know what, I've tried everything, I don't know what to do. And that's where we have to introduce them to metabolic flexibility and let them, teach their bodies how to be able to really absorb the nutrients coming from fruits, vegetables, proteins in a way that their body now knows what to do. So we would never tell people that would come to us, go, hey, you know what, do exactly what it is that we're doing. Let's get your body first fat adapted. Let's be able to make sure that your body is metabolically flexible and create an environment to where now, as soon as we get through that, we get the oxalates dumped, we get your body detoxed, we get you past that. Now we can be able to get into doing more like what it is that we do.
Yeah. Now, the metabolic flexibility was big because when going back to when I got sick, my body was breaking down. They diagnosed me with cancer. And I'm like, man, this is really, and my journey led me down that road of like, really, cancer really is a metabolic condition. There's no question about it. Really, all chronic disease, whether it's heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancer, they're really all downstream of poor metabolic function. And if you don't have that metabolic flexibility, it's not just about being skinny or being overweight. It's about you're not healthy because your body in a normal environment, in a healthy environment, should be able to burn glucose and you should be able to burn fatty acids. Those are energy sources. Your body can use both. I like how you put it. Things are seasonal. Maybe you don't have access to fruits and vegetables. Maybe you don't have access to meat, but your body has to be able to use both of those sources. And I think what we're finding, Brian, I think you'd probably agree, is that most people walking around, because we already know almost the entire population is not metabolically healthy. We know that. And if you don't have the science, just walk around and look at everybody that you run into. You can already tell they're not healthy. And that goes right to the point where most people, they can't burn fat for fuel. And if you cannot burn fat for fuel, there's no way possible that you're able to burn glucose for fuel as well. That's just a fact. So you've got to get people fat adapted first and foremost. And what we found is the best way to get people fat adapted is to get them burning endogenous fat, like the visceral fat, the subcutaneous fat. Most people are carrying around 50, 100, 150,000 calories of fat, just pure energy, just sitting on their body, yet they have zero energy because they don't have the ability to use it for fuel rather.
That's super important. Yeah. And that, I mean, our bodies are great, right? They're really smart. And it's a kind of a protection mechanism is it's storing all this fat for the future, but then people keep eating and they're eating the wrong foods, and their body, it doesn't even know what's going on, but it's protecting us, and it's storing the fat, storing the fat, storing the fat. I can't use this. You're giving me, Doritos and Mountain Dew. What's going on? And then they wonder why, and then they try to white knuckle it and just cut calories, and it gets even worse. So, well, yeah, let's get into specifics about the program. So, you guys do a program. Why I wanted to have you guys on, because you've worked with thousands and thousands of people by now, right? So this is you guys have done this with so many people. A lot of people, I've had people on the podcast talk about this stuff, but no one's seen as many people as you have, right? And it's so you guys are doing it and it works. So talk about that. So you do this like sort of shorter term, burn your own fat type of thing to get them going.
Yes. So really, it's very simple. Honestly, it's the first thing that we do is we always say that we assess or test, don't guess, when it comes to what's going on with your body's metabolism. So we've got a functional medicine assessment that allows us to be able to see where that person is, because nobody's the same. Everybody's body is different, so they're going to need different recommendations. So once we can be able to find out what's going on with that person's metabolism, what that does, that allows us to be able to figure out what's disrupting their metabolism, what their metabolic disruptor type is what it is that we call that. Once we can see that, we can now give recommendations. And then the first thing that we do with people is we reawaken their body's metabolism. When they come to us, their metabolism just hasn't been functioning, it hasn't been working. So we wake it up. And as soon as we wake it up, then we retrain their body at a cellular level through the recommendations that we give to them. And then once we do that, we can then reset their body's metabolism so it doesn't go back to where it was. And we also can then reboot their body's metabolism, because everybody always asks us about the maintenance. And so what happens after they do all of this? And so it's 8 weeks to do exactly what it is that we're saying. Is because you now are metabolically flexible. You have that fat adaptation. You can start now doing some of the things that you were doing before, not have to worry about gaining the weight, because your body actually can absorb the nutrients that are coming in. We're obviously teaching them better practices as far as their lifestyle goes when they're in our program. We've got great coaches. We're educating them along the way as well. And then they can be able to maintain it. But if somebody, let's say, for example, they go off the wagon for whatever reason, and they gain up to 2 pounds more than what it is that we call their metabolic weight set point when they had finished their program. If they do that, they can reboot their metabolism. It's called a metabolic reboot. Once they reboot it, they're back to where they were before within 24 hours. And that's something that they can be able to utilize for the rest of their life. So those right there are the steps to the program, not necessarily the how, but those are the steps that we take people through as they're going through the program.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because you can imagine, Brian, most people that we work with come to us, they're in such a low energy state. We have to like feed them 3, 4, 5,000 calories a day just to wake them up, because they've literally been deprived of nutrients and calories and energy. So trying to get somebody to lose weight who's already in a low energy state, that is futile. You're only going to make them worse, which is kind of what people do. They've lived on all these low calorie diets, no carb diets, keto diets, whatever they're doing. They're in such a low energy state. And then they move to the next diet, which keeps, down regulating their metabolic function. So I like the approach that we take with waking up the metabolism, retraining it, and then resetting it. So that is a 2-month process to make that happen. And we see ridiculous results. In fact, our average weight loss for somebody who would need to lose it, because we're not forcing weight loss, we're healing the metabolism, and then the body will do what it needs to do. But for somebody like a female, they're going to lose 22 to 25 pounds in that 5-week period. Guys are getting 30, 35 or more in a 5-week period. So you're talking about unbelievable results, really giving people a really quick win. And there's no better way to turn your health around than to lose visceral and stubborn body fat, because we measure pre and post and along the journey with our clients with bioimpedance assessments, which are great tools to look at, body fat, hydration, muscle mass. So we're predictably seeing these transformations now with like you said, man, we've been doing this since 2015, well over 10,000 people we've had the privilege of working with.
Wow, yeah, and that's awesome. Yeah, and that's great for 5 weeks too. Just
You
get
can do anything for 5 weeks.
oh man, get him going. Yeah, I mean, I even want to try the specific protocol, perhaps see what can happen. Maybe you can get rid of my kidney problem still. I don't know if I have kidney problem. I just suspect that there's
Yeah.
still going on because it was bad.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, that's a part of the metabolism protocol is gently detoxing the body from some of these things like the oxalates, like the glyphosate, a lot of these forever chemicals. One of the biggest things that we are able to accomplish that I think plays the biggest role, I don't want to speak for you, is the ability to detox our clients from years of stored linoleic acid, which we know downregulates your metabolic function. I mean, it literally sets you up for metabolic hibernation, torpor. So it's not just like you can eat seed oil and then it goes away. What's the half life? Like 680 days. So after that many days, half of it's still in your tissue. So it's causing severe metabolic disruption. And, step one, you want to stop eating it. Everybody knows, hey, stop eating seed oil. But how do you get rid of it? Are you really going to sit around for 3 to 5 years hoping that it goes away? So part of how we get such a quick result is we're able to detox people during that 5-week retrain from years of stored PUFA. And we could talk more about that because it's really interesting. There's a fatty acid a lot of people don't know about called meat acid.
Yeah, mead acid. Yeah, MEAD. Yeah, tell us.
Yeah. Yeah, not mead wine, meat acid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically it's an omega-9. You heard of omega-3, omega-6. It's an omega-9. It's actually a 20 carbon chain polyunsaturated fatty acid. It is a PUFA, but your body makes it, unlike like linoleic acid, omega-6, or even fish oil, omega-3, where you're eating it exogenously and then you're making the down products from it. Meat acid is an endogenous fat that your body makes. I call it like a rescue fatty acid because your body makes it when it senses that you're becoming deficient in essential fatty acids. Things like linoleic acid, alpha linoleic or linolenic acid. So as a part of the retrain phase, we position the fatty acid profile with the right food sequencing to activate meat acid because it will compete for those same receptor sites that the PUFA competes for, because it is a PUFA, but it's an endogenous PUFA. Your body prefers it. So that gives your body the ability to now get rid of all that stored linoleic acid that's wrecking your metabolism, do it quickly and safely, but you can't stay there forever. So it's strategic. We do it for a few weeks in a controlled environment to stimulate the meat acid, to detox from the PUFA, which automatically, when you come out of that, if you can imagine, dumping all that out of your system, your metabolism. Literally, we have people that are on like 800 calorie to 1200 calorie diets, go through our program, and then they can double and triple the amount of calories they can now eat because their metabolism is just roaring like crazy and burning all these calories. So it's really phenomenal, not to mention all the health benefits that you get from getting all of that nonsense out of your system that maybe took us all 30, 40, 50 years to build it up.
The calorie bros minds are exploding right now.
It's
The IG calorie bros, they're like, "Bro, it's just calories in, calories out." But you guys see it. And Rob, so yeah, like how is that even possible? I mean, Randy kind of said how it's possible, but yes,
Yeah.
you take someone who's eating 1,000 calories, right? And they put on weight if they go over 10 calories over that, and all of a sudden they can eat way more. How does that work?
it's as we were talking, I was thinking just to, for the calorie bros real quick, is we took our clients, a bunch of 40 of our clients last year in October to Ischia, Italy for a retreat that we had there. And what was great is after the retreat, because many of these people who were there were eating pasta and pizza, drinking the wine and doing all the things. We got so many people messaging us after the event that they had lost weight while they were gone in Italy for 2 weeks. And it just completely blew their mind because they're like, we're eating so much. We're like, that's what happens when you get metabolic flexibility and you're eating real food that doesn't have all the toxins in it. So
it's really a zero sum game, right? Once your metabolism is strong, I could eat 5,000 calories and not gain a pound. I could do a 24-hour fast and not gain a pound, because really your metabolic weight set point, that your body's going to keep you kind of where it wants to keep you. Everybody kind of has a metabolic weight set point. It's kind of that number that when all the dust settles and all the diets are over and all the treadmills are finished, you just settle right back at that weight. And that's a part of what we're doing, Brian, is we're recalibrating and resetting. We call it a metabolic thermostat. So quite simply, just like you would adjust the thermostat, I'll give you an example. It is hot here in Dallas. I'm sure it's pretty warm there in Austin. Definitely over 100 degrees here. We got it set on probably 68 degrees. Doesn't matter what's going on outside. It's going to regulate that temperature. Your body does the exact same thing. There's no difference. You've got a metabolic thermostat, and if you don't readjust it, once again, that zero sum game is going to put you where you're going to be put. You've got to get fat adapted. And then you've also got to get carb adapted, which is really the missing piece for most people who end up on keto diets or end up losing weight. They may have been able to burn fat for fuel, but what happens when you add a banana back in and you gain 4 pounds? You're not metabolically healthy. And that's the second piece to the puzzle.
Well, here, we're running out of time, but this is a big one because so many people, they've been so low carb for so long, and these are people listening, and these are people on my Instagram. These are people that email me, and they always say, Brian, I know you can do it. You're active. You're young. I'm like, I'm 41. I'm not young, but
Yes, you are.
they think that they can't do it. They're like, what about me? Every time I eat a banana, I gain 4 pounds. Like you just said, they're stuck. What do you say to these people?
We say to those people, hey, you know what? Number one is a lot of times somebody needs to see somebody that's been where they're at. Hey, I've been where you're at. If I can do it, you can do it, right? And so that's what we say to people. And for our system being very simple, once you were asking the how, real quick, we do the assessment, we test based on what we see with that. We give them a recommendation. We're not supplement people, okay? We're nutrient people. So there's a couple of tinctures that we send them that's going to be specific to what it's going on with them, specific to their metabolic profile. We don't have a lot of products. And then we literally give them a manual that's customized and specific to them that tells them exactly what to do. In fact, I had one. They literally get a manual. Yeah. It tells them exactly what to do every single day so that there's no guesswork at all. So they're just going through that. We coach them on a weekly basis as well. We've got amazing coaches on our team that are coaching with them every week, answering their questions for them. And so, like we said, it's 5 weeks of going through that, and then 3 weeks of making sure that we're setting their metabolism so it doesn't go back. And really, it's just as simple as that. The content that we have within that program, gosh, there's literally thousands of hours of us answering people's questions that are, there's not a question that we haven't answered for people. So that's how we do that. And really our magic is being metabolic experts and getting people quick wins. But it's one thing to get somebody a quick win and another thing to give somebody a long lasting win. So this is something that they can be able to maintain without having to worry about, okay, the day that I finish this, the first glass of water I drink, I just gained 10 pounds back. Or like he said, ate a banana and just gained the weight back. So that really is the how. And so we're always giving people content and information. And one of the things that we're doing right now is they can even come into a challenge that we're having that's a metabolic challenge where we're giving them content for 3 days. Doesn't cost them anything to come into this. That way we can be able to get them pointed in the right direction for that person. Like you just said, hey, you know what? What do I do? How do I do that? We get way more specific, way more in depth with it. And so they could even go to h2thinchallenge.com/sapien. So this is for your folks who are listening to be able to come into that. And there's no cost for your folks to do that. And we're going to give them 3 days of our very best stuff.
Yeah, and it's not a diet, Brian. That's the beauty of this. It's really a system to wake up, retrain, and reset the metabolism. Get that real metabolic flexibility. Get yourself fat adapted. Get yourself carb adapted. Readjust your metabolic thermostat. Have a brand new weight set point. Get insulin sensitive. We can do this very quickly. You're going to lose weight if you need to, and then you don't have to do this forever. You're not doing this forever. You're up regulating and healing your metabolic profile, and now it's just really following the sapien way, right? The happy, healthy sapien system. It's
Mhm.
literally eating real food. Really, like, I love how you guys talk about reconnecting with nature, doing what my great granny did to live to be 100 on no medication. It isn't hard. It's not sexy, but it works. But a lot of people, it's kind of like I talk about, if you build a house on a bad foundation, we've all done it probably. If you have, it's very expensive, by the way. It's going to cost you a lot of time and a lot of money. Most people's metabolic foundation is completely flawed. Lay your foundation strong. You can always stack and build from there. That's kind of the problem, even in the biohacking world. You're using all these fancy treatments and hacks, but you never got your metabolic foundation laid strong. That's where we can come in and help people really do that, get a great result, set them up metabolically to have success. And then that's when the real fun happens, when you really aren't having to count every morsel or
Mhm.
count every point. You're really just living life. You're enjoying life. There is no fear. There is no guilt. It's really great to wake up and live that life. That really is the happy, healthy life. And I know the sapien way echoes those sentiments there.
Absolutely. This is great. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm glad you guys are in such agreement and we're on the same page here. And yeah, what was that website so for free? Because I want to tell people, yes, they do have a program. So this is not supposed to be an infomercial for their program,
Yeah.
but I actually your assistant did email me a code if they want to do the program. I think it's Peak Human 700. So it's
That's a different one than the challenge that I gave you.
Yeah.
So what I would say is the challenge is free. So if they go to H2, the number 2, thin challenge.com/sapien.
Yeah.
so that's the one.
That's the one they want to use to get into the challenge. So we're going to take 3 days with them, Brian, and just give them our best content. And then if anybody wants to go the next step and work directly with us at Happy Healthy and go through our metabolism program, we're going to make that available to your group and make it really easy to do that. But we just want to pour into them first and foremost and just love on them and teach
Mhm.
them and bring them along the way. I think that goes a long, long way. And that's the funnest thing we get to do, because when do you get like 3 days to go through your best stuff? And really, people just implementing those things will already see changes. But like you said, some of your group, they're stuck, they're frustrated, and they've done all the diets and they're eating real foods. It's like, why am I not losing weight, or why am I still inflamed? Why can't I solve this puzzle? And we've already done the work. I've already spent the $30,000 to not die in Spain and
Mhm.
figure all this metabolic stuff out. You don't have to spend that. You don't have to go to Spain. You don't have to go through what Rob went through or even what you went through. We can make this simple, and we've connected the dots to make it quick, fast, and really make it happen soon. Quite quick, fast, in a hurry is guess what I was trying to say.
Uh-huh.
That's hard to say. Quick, fast, in a hurry.
Who says it? All right. Well, yeah, I'll put that link in the show
Okay.
notes. I'll put it out. Yeah, that's great. Get them in for this free thing. And yeah, I mean, if you guys can take these principles and do it for free as well. You don't have to do the program, but I mean, I've heard great success. Even Del Bigtree, another guy ran into it, a Bobby Kennedy thing. He went through you guys' program, did very well, lost tons of weight, changed his life. A lot of people. We were talking about some of these other people.
Yeah, quick story on that. When all the government lockdowns happened with the COVID thing, we were a clinical operation, Brian. We had 9 offices,
Mm,
so we shut them all down, made the pivot to go virtual. And as we were going virtual, we had ran into Dale at one of our mastermind events, and he did our program, lost 28 pounds in the 5 week period,
mhm.
because he was like, guys, this seems unbelievable. Dale is such a skeptic. He's an investigative guy. He goes down all those rabbit holes. But when you take 28 pounds of somebody, it changed his life. And so he brought us on to his show, The High Wire. This was what, last year?
Yeah, February of last year.
Yeah, it's like what's 8 million views a week. So he wanted his audience to know what he had done. And so it really moved us into 5 other countries because he's got a global audience. And it really made us a lot better too, to help people anywhere in the world. You don't have to come to Dallas. You don't have to go to Austin. Literally, we can help you immediately right where you're at, lose the weight, heal the metabolism, make it fun. And Dale really helped us connect to a lot of the people, because a lot of people respect Dale. He's a good dude, and he stands for a lot of the medical freedoms that we all want and fight for. So yeah, Dale's a true believer in the Happy Healthy program.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. This is great. Can't wait to have you guys come down to Sapien Center. And yeah, take care.
It's good.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Brian.
Thank you.